You never know, Matt Show. Today, I want to talk about should statements. So, should statements are one of the top 10 cognitive distortions from the book Feeling Good by Dr. David Burns. Fantastic book. If you ever find yourself consistently in a bad mood, like more than a couple of days, great book. That might have been loud, sorry. Should statements. So, we have ways of interpreting the world that interfere with our natural functioning, with our happiest functioning, with our most enjoyable functioning. Of course, when a tragedy happens, we are going to experience sadness, and that's normal. But let's talk about your everyday annoyances, right? So, should statements. How does this go? What's the story with the should statements? Here it is. Should statements. When we say someone else should be a certain way, we experience anger, right? So for me, when I go into a parking lot and someone doesn't park correctly, I say to myself, these people should really watch where they're parking because it gets in the way of there being more spaces for everyone else. And that should statement goes right in there to my emotional system, and it causes me to feel angry. Yes, angry, right? And then there's also the what we could call Dr. David Burns calls it the shouldy way of living. You know, shoulding on others, shoulding on ourselves. So we might say, I should be doing this thing. I should be reading more, right? So it's like we torture ourselves with saying that we should be doing something or we should be a certain way. We should be doing this certain action that we're not doing. I should be eating less ice cream. I should be exercising more, right? Now, we just laid out what the problem is. Now, with shoulding on others, sometimes that's something we don't have control over. So when that pops up in our head, we're like, they should do this thing. We could say, hey, we could ask ourselves, do I have control over that? And if the answer is no, we might have to ask ourselves a bunch of more times to make it a habit to drop that because it's not necessary and it's not helpful or useful. And then when it comes to us, and it's like, I should be doing this thing, we can kind of say, hey, all right, maybe it would be better for me if I were to take this certain action, like eating less ice cream, which is a abstraction in and of itself. That's an abstraction, meaning that eating less ice cream, that there's so many actions involved in eating less ice cream. Do you need to not get up off the couch and walk over to the fridge after dinner, or the freezer rather, and grab the ice cream out and eat it? Is that part of it? Like, do we need to stop taking those actions? Now, I want to stop eating less ice cream. Oh, okay. So maybe we can take a break from ice cream 1 or 2 days a week, depending on how many days you eat ice cream. So we can move towards a, let's say, problem solving or new habit creating paradigm or belief system or way of thinking. We can move towards a new way of thinking and a new way of acting as opposed to shoulding on ourselves. Because shoulding on ourselves and saying, I should be doing this thing or I should be doing that thing tends to make us more upset and tends to make us self-medicate with all of our different addictions that we have, right? I think that everyone has addictions. I think that we have our things that when we feel upset or it's just our habit, we just do it like to make ourselves feel better. It's like, I don't need to have ice cream. I don't need to smoke the cigarette. I don't need to drink this beer. Oh, but what if we don't? What if we don't? What happens then? Oh, well, I don't know. I'll have an urge. Like there's like an uncontrollable urge. I just have to do it because of the emotion that comes up. Long story short, we can move from a shouldy way of living to a taking on new habits way of living, right? So to create that new habit, we can start from the small step. So with the ice cream, maybe, let's say we have ice cream 4 nights a week. I don't do that, but I might look like I do. Never mind. I ain't even talking about me. We are actually. So what we can do is move from having maybe ice cream 4 nights a week to having ice cream 3 nights a week. Or let's say we have 2 scoops of ice cream, we can have 1 3/4 scoops of ice cream. And little by little, we can get ourselves off the ice cream and figure out another way to make ourselves feel good. That's the You Never Know Matt show for today, which is May 8th, 2018. So this was all about moving from a shouldy way of living, which is shooting on ourselves and shooting on others. Shooting on others makes us angry. Shooting on ourselves makes us basically depressed and anxious and feel out of control and feel like we can't do anything to change. To moving to creating new habits. A little bit at a time. Go with that little bit of stress-free in the moment. I can make that change, attitude, and we're good. So, wow, this is one of the longest videos I've done. I think this is the longest video I've done. And it might partially be because I had green tea and that's just pumping me up like crazy. Could be. But anyway, I'm pretty proud of myself. I feel like I'm doing good. I feel like I'm getting better at communicating into the camera like you are a person. And filling in the blank spots in the picture of what I'm explaining. John.